Fury versus Triumph. How a cheap Ukrainian drone outsmarted Russia's most advanced air defense. June 6, 2025, 3 a.m. The sky over Saratov Oblast is calm and empty. On the Russian airbase Engels 2, strategic Tu-160 bombers stand ready. In just a few hours, they're scheduled to take off. After a short 30-minute flight, their bomb bay doors will open. Slender, predatory bodies will slide out Kh-101 cruise missiles programmed to strike Kyiv, Kharkiv, Lviv, any Ukrainian city. Their mission is destruction and death. Not this time. Following Ukraine's June 1st strike on 4 Russian strategic air bases, Dyagilevo, Olenya, Ivanovo, and Belia, Russia took measures. A second wave of FPV drone attacks was no longer viable. But Ukraine had a different plan, a clever one. High in the sky, 17 shadows were already moving. 17 silent assassins. Their name was Litii. In Ukrainian, the word means fierce, relentless, merciless, one who forgives nothing. It carries the weight of a nation's rage. On the front line, there's a Ukrainian brigade with a similar name, Lit, meaning fury. But this story isn't about them. Today's story is about a drone swarm strike by kamikaze UAVs known as Litii. We'll hold off on revealing their target just a little longer. Soon you'll find out how this swarm disabled one of the most crucial elements in Russia's nuclear triad, the Engels 2 strategic airbase. No one expected them. Satellites didn't pick them up. Radars didn't detect them. Silence was their only companion on the 470-mile journey through hostile skies. Each of the 17 Litii drones launched from a custom-built platform long before impact. They had a wingspan of about 10 feet, weighed about 55 pounds, and carried a 7-pound shaped charge fragmentation warhead in the nose capable of cutting through thin aircraft aluminum or even a steel plate a couple inches thick. They flew for 6 hours at a speed of about 90 miles per hour. Not a single radio command. They didn't even have radio equipment on board. Once launched, they were on their own. There was no way to recall them, no signal for abort, just one path toward the target whose coordinates were stored in the memory of their basic onboard computer. They flew in total silence, like ghosts trained to kill without sound. They had no GPS. You couldn't jam them. They relied on old but reliable methods, magnetic compass, inertial sensors, basic math, and preloaded memory, like a mid-20th century navigator, but inside the body of a modern drone. Each Litii was a flying algorithm. Chinese-made components worth $89 each guided them toward a target where failure wasn't an option, and success could cripple a billion-dollar defense system. They moved like angry spirits, too quiet to hear, too small to notice, too smart to miss. But they weren't flying into empty air. Standing in their way was a supposedly fearsome adversary, Russia's S-400 Triumph, one of the most advanced surface-to-air missile systems in the world. Or so it's claimed. On paper, it's a monster, able to take down anything from cruise missiles to stealth jets. The stated range is up to 250 miles. Its main radar, the 92N6E Gravestone, can track up to 80 targets simultaneously. It can engage up to 36 of them at once, firing 2 missiles per target, with as many as 72 guided missiles in the air at the same time. That's the theory. In practice, all 17 Litii drones slipped right through. The S-400 failed to live up to its name. There was no Triumph. But why? First, altitude. The drones flew at just 165 feet, sometimes lower during their final approach. The S-400 doesn't like looking down. Its radar is tuned to detect high-speed, high-altitude, high-profile threats. Near the ground, the signal bounces off rooftops, trees, hangars. That creates radar clutter, electronic noise where everything gets lost. In such conditions, telling a plastic drone from a seagull is like spotting a shadow in the dark. Second, radar visibility. Each Litii drone had a radar cross-section of just 0.01 square meters, roughly 0.1 square feet. That's 10 times smaller than the lowest threshold the S-400 is designed to engage. For comparison, an F-15 fighter has a radar cross-section of 25 square meters, or about 270 square feet. A cruise missile registers around 0.2 square meters, or 2.15 square feet. Litii is 20 times smaller than even that. To the radar, it's nothing more than static. A target so insignificant, it's easier to ignore than to track. Finally, there's the matter of simplicity. Litii doesn't emit signals, it doesn't transmit data. It's a radio-silent phantom. The S-400 expects complex targets, jets with infrared trails, missiles with blazing thermal signatures. Instead, it gets a plastic decoy with a lawnmower engine. At 3:01 local time, the S-400 radar scans the sky. Its beams slicing through the flight path of the Ukrainian drones, but it sees nothing. Too low, too primitive. That's why the system didn't react. Everything it was built to stop was useless against something that simply didn't fit its algorithms. But the S-400 wasn't the only line of defense at the strategic airbase. There were also Panzer S-1 systems, short-range air defense platforms specifically designed to intercept cruise missiles, drones, and precision-guided munitions. 4 of them were positioned around Engels 2. Each one cost about $15 million and came equipped with twin 30mm autocannons and a dozen 57 E-6 guided missiles, marketed with promises like instant destruction of incoming threats. On training grounds, the performance is flawless. Missiles catch targets mid-air, tracers paint graceful arcs, and victory seems inevitable. But this is war. The first problem, target size. Panzer is calibrated to engage threats with a radar cross-section of no less than 0.1 square meters. Lidii is 10 times smaller. On radar, it looks like a speck of dust on a windshield. It doesn't vanish, but the system's computer treats it as low priority, indistinct, and doubtful, drowned out by hundreds of other signals, birds, thermal streams, ground reflections. The second problem, radio guidance. The Panzer's missile needs continuous illumination from the radar to home in accurately. But Lidii is built from plastic and carbon. The radar beam glances off it like light off a black cat in a coal mine. The signal breaks, scatters, and skips. The missile can't lock on. It veers off or detonates too early or too late. The third problem, heat signature. A turbojet missile is an easy spot. Its engine glows white hot. But Lidii's piston engine is almost cold. The thermal sensor sees only a faint dot. The targeting software can't calculate a proper lead-in time. One Panzer operator finally spots a target just 5 miles from the base, flying at 165 feet and moving at about 90 miles per hour. Too slow for a missile, too fast for a bird. He commands auto-lock. The missile launches into the night, but 2 seconds later it loses the target. The signal vanished. The plastic drone melted into the noise. The missile flies wide, a 1,000,000-ruble projectile going nearly Mach 3 misses entirely. The drone presses on. Then the cannons open up. 30mm tracer rounds streak through the night sky, golden arcs glowing like something out of a video game. But hitting a small drone from nearly 2 miles away is no easier than throwing a dart at a swallow. The gunners fire blind. Each shell self-destructs after 4 seconds. In the sky, black plumes bloom, misses, not hits, and that was just the first drone. 16 more followed. A few seconds later, the target came into view. It wasn't the massive bodies of Russia's Tu-160 or Tu-95 bombers, because Lidii isn't a high-tech killer. It doesn't have a camera, lasers, or AI. It's crude, blunt, like a hammer. But it knows one thing: fly to the pre-programmed coordinates and strike. It can't search for targets. It can't improvise. It won't recognize if the plane was moved 10 meters away. In that case, its 3 kilograms of TNT will detonate on bare concrete, causing minimal damage. But Lidii is perfect for one kind of mission, hitting a stationary target that never moves. Not even an inch. And that target was a fuel reservoir, 70 feet in diameter, a massive cylinder that's always in place and lights up like a beacon in thermal imagery. On June 6, 2025, the strike didn't hit the aircraft. It hit somewhere else, somewhere no one was expecting. The drones didn't strike the bombers, they hit the fuel artery feeding those giant winged machines of death. Ukrainian UAVs targeted the Krystal Oil Depot, a key logistical facility supplying aviation fuel to Engels 2, home to Tu-160 and Tu-95MS strategic bombers. The goal wasn't the aircraft, but what gets them off the ground: fuel. Each Lidii drone was equipped with a low-resolution thermal camera, just 640 by 480 pixels, crude and inexpensive. Its algorithm analyzed the thermal image and locked onto the tank with the highest temperature, the one that had just been filled, with the highest vapor pressure. That was the chosen target not by chance, but based on heat signature, vulnerability, and explosive potential. At 3:08, the first drone reached its mark. Its shaped charge warhead slammed into the tank's lid. 8 millimeters, about 3.5 inches of steel, were pierced in a fraction of a second. Then came the blast, right inside a container filled with pressurized kerosene vapor. The 15-ton tank roof launched upward like a champagne cork. The walls split open and 2,000 tons, or roughly 600,000 gallons of aviation fuel poured onto the ground, igniting instantly. Within seconds, the fire suppression system activated. But what can 13,000 gallons of foam do against 600,000 gallons of burning kerosene? Exactly, nothing. 3 more drones followed, one after another, striking neighboring tanks. Tank number 1, tank number 7, tank number 12. Heat signatures marked them like bullseyes on the screen, and again, impact after impact. The temperature at the center of this inferno reached 1,800 degrees Celsius. Fire trucks stopped 500 meters, or around 1,600 feet away. Their paint began to blister, equipment failed, valves melted, and fuel kept flowing into the flames, like blood spilling from a torn artery. At 3:18, a BLEV occurred, a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. One of the tanks ruptured violently. The explosion could be heard for dozens of miles. A fireball mushroomed into the sky like a nuclear strike. And everything burned. The entire fuel reserve, without which the Tu-160s are nothing more than gliders parked on a slab of concrete, was gone. Rebuilding that infrastructure will take weeks of intensive work, maybe even months. The strategic base has been knocked offline for the foreseeable future. But this wasn't just a strike on a fuel tank, it was a strike on confidence, on war logistics, on the illusion that strategic depth guarantees safety. Russia built its military doctrine on 3 pillars: the vastness of its territory, impunity, and reliance on its nuclear triad as a global threat. Engels 2 is one of the cornerstones of that triad. Bombers carrying nuclear warheads or conventional ones that devastate Ukrainian cities take off from there. On June 6th, that cornerstone cracked. The drones that pierced it weren't built in labs or secret facilities. They were made from 3D printed parts and cheap components off AliExpress, cobbled together by hand. They flew 460 miles, bypassed Panzers, evaded the S-400, and struck directly at the heart of the system, the fuel depot. Without it, the Tu-160 is just a plane sitting idle on the tarmac. Once again, Ukraine proved that it's possible to fight back even against a vast, nuclear-armed monster like Russia. No matter its size, it no longer has her true rear. Saratov, Ryazan, Kursk, Sakov. These are all frontline zones now. Every factory, airfield, oil depot is under threat. No air defense is absolute. The S-400, the Panzer, long-range radars, all of them failed against a simple, silent, angry drone. The evolution of Ukrainian drones is far from over. Lydia is just the beginning. The future holds swarms of autonomous UAVs capable of more, selecting targets on the fly, coordinating, penetrating deeper into enemy territory. Russia will spend a long time rebuilding Engels, installing new tanks, laying pipelines, pouring concrete, but something fundamental has changed. A new feeling has emerged: vulnerability. And that's the most dangerous thing for a system built on fear. The name Lydia now sounds less like a drone and more like a warning. A country defending its freedom, driven by fury, becomes 100 times stronger and far more dangerous. Russia made a strategic mistake by invading Ukraine, one that may cost it dearly. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. We appreciate your likes and feedback. See you again soon.